Great. Welcome everyone to the special session of council for the 20th day of March 2026. Just before we get started, I just want to remind everyone that this morning's meeting is being live streamed via our YouTube channel. And so welcome to those that are in the body of the council chambers. Welcome to those that are home watching, and welcome to those that will watch at a future date. We'll start this morning's meeting off with the playing of our national anthem. So I'll ask those to stand and face the flag for the national anthem. Thank you, everyone. We'll look for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Norrie, second by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comment, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none. First and only matter we have on this morning's agenda is Executive Services withdrawal from Lennox and Addington Community Foundation funding program. And Mr. Grant, you're going to speak to that.
I am, and thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for members of council for making time this morning. So as council will be aware, since March 2017, we have had money in the Lennox and Addington Community Foundation, who essentially ran on our behalf a fund to disperse monies to the community for things such as events or other things for community groups. We have since started our own fund that we run on our own with the assistance of an advisory committee, which disperses $30,000 a year in 2 increments. And it's effectively a duplication of services. And I think that the Community Foundation did a great service for us for a long time. We are now running that on our own. I would say that prior to staff recommending this particular fund to council, we did approach the Community Foundation to see if they might be able to run something like that on our behalf. It would be more limiting because they have some rules as a foundation with respect to who they are allowed to provide funds to, nonprofit status and the like. That is why that partnership did not advance. So we elected to go our own route. It was my intention later this spring to bring forward this exact recommendation to council to withdraw our funds, the $10,000 a year, as well as the $30,000 that we have vested, and put them into our own program. Reason being, that's a 25% increase to the funds that we're dispersing. In our first funding round of the Community Initiatives Fund, we had $100,000 in requests. And I appreciate we can't satisfy all $100,000, but we were able to give some funds to the Children's Safety Village, the Block Party Kit Program, as well as the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Our next funding round will happen later this year, and as council will recall, they moved from $7,500 to $15,000 a funding round. Should council decide to go this route, this $10,000 would be allocated to that funding starting in 2027, as the funds for this year have already been committed, which would bring each funding round up to $20,000, which is a fair increase and allows us to support more. The reason that I've, I guess, escalated the timelines is the Community Foundation is set to have a full membership vote on its governance structure next week. And the decision there is if they move from a model of 92 members who are able to select their governing board of 6 or their 6 members from their membership, what's generally referred to as an open system, to a closed system where you have between 3 and 12 directors who are also the membership. So there would no longer be the 92 member structure. So they are going to vote on that next Tuesday. We are a member by virtue of our monies that are invested in the fund. I didn't think it was appropriate for the municipality to both vote on the future governance of the fund, only to bring forward a recommendation shortly thereafter to say we should withdraw from the fund. Hence, I thought it was more appropriate to bring this to you now. I do think this is the right move in the sense that our fund will continue to support an increasing number of projects, and the Lennox and Addington Community Foundation will continue to be available to members of the community of all of Lennox and Addington, as it always has been. So the funds that we have in the $4.4-ish million that they have, ours represents $30,000 total that's vested and $10,000 a year, which is a lot for our fund, but not a ton for the other fund. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Does anyone have any questions with respect to Mr. Grant's presentation or the report in front of us? Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Matthew, the $30,000 that's vested when it comes back, where do you see that going? Would we put it in a reserve? And okay, so that's the plan. The $10,000 annually, we'll continue to budget for that, and then the $30,000 we'll set aside and grow.
Yep. So through you, Mr. Mayor, for council, just by way of reminder, the funds currently that are funding the Community Initiatives Fund from Atura, approximately $100,000 a year. 15% of that $100,000 is directed to a reserve. When that fund sunsets, the thought is we'll still have a reserve, similar to what the Community Foundation does, to be able to continue on with that program. What staff is recommending is that $30,000 goes into that reserve to jumpstart it, and that the $10,000 goes into annual disbursements.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Hicks. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calver.
Thank you, through your worship. So this Lennox and Addington Community Foundation, just for clarification, this isn't run by Lennox and Addington County. That is correct?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, no, Mr. Deputy Mayor, it is not run by Lennox and Addington County. It is a registered nonprofit charitable organization.
No, thank you. I realize that, but for the people watching from home, people get confused a lot because the name Lennox and Addington Community, Lennox and Addington County, just like the hospital, isn't run by the county. It's just using the name. So thank you for that clarification. And my only concern with this is I know the Lennox and Addington Community Foundation, they have grants available for kids that are going off to college and university. And I'm wondering if we cut the funding from Napanee, is that going to possibly affect the students from Napanee applying for funding? And is it possible for those students to apply for funding through our funding program?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I would say first, I don't believe our withdrawal of funds would impact the way that the community of Lennox and Addington, the Lennox and Addington Community Fund operates. I believe whatever's being made available to them outside of our specific program would continue to be made available to them. And I don't have the criteria in front of me, but what I would say is if individuals or groups meet the criteria that's laid out in the Community Initiatives Fund, they could certainly apply.
Okay, thank you. And one more follow-up if I could. Would it be something that we could look at maybe going forward in 2027 to have available for students to apply for grants for going to university or college? Make it a little more simpler, because I think right now it's just set up for nonprofit, that sort of thing.
So through you, Mr. Mayor. So it's set up a little more broadly than nonprofit. There is specific criteria that is laid out that mirrors the funding agreement that we have with Atura, as it is their funds. And I would say that it is always council's privilege to revisit the terms of the fund to decide if you would like to expand it. I would say at this point, providing educational grants to individuals isn't necessarily the aim of the fund. It's more about sort of community improvements, community events, that sort of thing. But there is nothing precluding council from revisiting the purpose of the fund and that criteria. It is your privilege to set.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Calver. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there anything else? Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. Matthew, the changing from putting our money in one fund, taking it out, putting it in there, has nothing to do with the changing of their governance, or is it just because our fund is getting more popular and we need the money more specifically for our own functions? Thank you.
So thank you for the question through you, Mr. Mayor. I would say the decision to move the funds was one I intended to bring to council. Our fund there's a lot of interest in it. And in my mind, it doesn't make sense to divide our resources into two separate pots. We can do more when they're combined. I would say the vote on the governance structure influenced the timing of when I brought this forward. It was my intention to bring this forward sometime in April, perhaps May. And then when we received notification that we are free to vote on the future of the governance structure of the Community Foundation, I didn't think it was terribly appropriate to both vote on the governance of the organization and then recommend to council that we leave the organization.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Councilor Martin. Is there anything else? We do have a recommendation that council receive for information the executive services withdrawal from the Lennox and Addington County Foundation funding program, and further that council endorses a plan for the town to exit the Lennox and Addington County Foundation funding program, and further that council direct that the CAO send a letter to the Lennox and Addington County Community Foundation that is exercising the exit clause in its agreement and providing 6 months notice to do so in line with the agreement, and further that council direct that the town request the return of $29,800 that is currently sitting in the Lennox and Addington Community Foundation as an emerging charitable fund, and place those funds in the Community Initiatives Fund Reserve, and further that council direct that the 2026 represent the final year of contributions to the Lennox and Addington Community Foundation funding program, and further annual contributions be directed towards the town's Community Initiatives Fund, and further that council direct the town's Community Grants Policy and Reserves Fund to be updated to reflect this direction and the amended documents brought back to council approval. Moved by Councilor Martin, second by Deputy Mayor Calver. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? The motion is carried. And look for a motion for the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Greater Napanee at special session of council held March 20th, 2026. Moved by Councilor Shank, second by Councilor Davey. Read it first, second, and finally passed this 20th day of March 2026. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. And motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilor Davey, second by Councilor Hicks. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks, folks, and we'll see you next week for a regular session of council.